The gym trainer laughed when I asked to join advanced classes, not knowing I'd trained Olympic athletes in 3 countries. The trainer at Summit Fitness looked me up and down with barely concealed amusement when I walked up to the front desk and asked about joining the advanced athletic training program. His name tag read Cody Fletcher, and he had the build of someone who'd spent more time taking gym selfies than actually training anyone seriously. Advanced classes? He repeated, smirking at his colleague behind the desk. Ma'am, those sessions are for competitive athletes and people with serious fitness backgrounds. Maybe you'd be more comfortable in our beginner wellness program? We have chair yoga on Monday mornings. I stood there in my worn Target workout clothes and scuffed sneakers, my graying hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, looking every bit the middle-aged woman who probably hadn't seen the inside of a gym in years. I was 52 years old, carrying an extra 30 pounds from stress eating during the past 6 months, and I looked nothing like the elite athletic trainer I'd been for 25 years. My name was Dr. Elena Volkov, and I'd trained Olympic gold medalists in Russia, Germany, and the United States. But those credentials belonged to a different life, one that had ended 6 months ago when my daughter Nadia died in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. After her funeral, I'd stopped working, stopped training, stopped everything. I'd moved from Los Angeles to this small town in Colorado where nobody knew me, hoping distance would somehow make the grief more manageable. It hadn't worked, but at least here I could fall apart in privacy without former clients and colleagues watching me deteriorate. I'd finally forced myself to join a gym because sitting in my apartment eating takeout every night was killing me almost as efficiently as the grief. I needed structure, purpose, something to fill the hours between waking up and going back to sleep. Cody's condescension should have made me angry, but I was too emotionally exhausted to care. The beginner program is fine, I said quietly, just wanting to sign the papers and leave. Brittany printed out a membership form and slid it across the counter along with a waiver. I filled everything out using my legal name without the doctorate, just Elena Volkov, no credentials listed. I paid the monthly fee, and Brittany handed me a schedule of beginner classes starting at 6 a.m. the next morning. The beginner wellness class was taught by an enthusiastic 24-year-old named Kelsey Marsh, who bounced around the room like she'd consumed an entire case of energy drinks. There were 12 of us in the class, mostly women over 40, one elderly man recovering from knee surgery, and 2 younger guys who clearly had no business being there based on their fitness levels. Kelsey had us doing basic stretches and light cardio with form so incorrect it made my professional instincts scream. She was teaching people to do squats with their knees extending past their toes, creating dangerous stress on the joints. Her plank instructions completely ignored core engagement, turning an effective exercise into a recipe for lower back injury. I watched the elderly man, whose name tag said Walter, struggling with a lunge variation that was absolutely wrong for someone with his mobility limitations. I moved closer to Walter and quietly suggested he adjust his stance, showing him how to engage his hip stabilizers properly. His next lunge was immediately more controlled and he looked relieved. Kelsey noticed me helping Walter and bounced over with a bright smile. That's so sweet of you to help, but I've got everything under control. These modifications are from the certification program I completed last summer. I nodded and stepped back, but I couldn't stop watching Kelsey teach dangerous form to people who trusted her expertise. After class, Walter came up to me and said the adjustment I'd shown him had made a huge difference. My physical therapist has been trying to explain that same thing for weeks, but the way you showed it just clicked. Do you have a background in training? I told him I'd done some coaching years ago, keeping it vague. He asked if I'd be willing to show him a few more things, and I agreed to meet him before class the next morning. Over the next 2 weeks, I started arriving early to work with Walter and answer questions from other class members who noticed I seemed to know what I was doing. I kept my help subtle and informal, just small corrections and suggestions that improved their form without making Kelsey look bad. Cody Fletcher noticed me working with Walter one morning and interrupted our session. Excuse me, Elena, but we can't have members providing unsupervised training to other members. It's a liability issue, and honestly, it's disrespectful to our certified staff, Walter protested. Cody's expression made it clear he didn't care. Our trainers are certified professionals. If Walter wants additional coaching, he can book sessions with qualified staff at our standard rates. I apologized and backed off, but Walter looked frustrated and disappointed. After Cody walked away, Walter muttered that he couldn't afford the $80 per hour that Summit Fitness charged for personal training, which was why he'd been taking group classes in the first place. The following week, I noticed Kelsey teaching a new exercise that was even more dangerous than her usual programming. She had the class doing explosive jumping movements without any prior assessment of their joint stability or landing mechanics. The elderly man was attempting them despite clearly not having the requisite strength or coordination. One of the middle-aged women suddenly landed awkwardly, and I could see her ankle rolling inward. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.